Welcome back, I am the Executioner, and today we are going to be reading from Murray and Rothbard's America's Great Depression, The Positive Theory of the Cycle, Government Depression Policy Laissez-faire. If government wishes to see depression ended quickly as possible, and the economy return to normal prosperity, what course should it adopt? The first and clearest injunction is, don't interfere with the market's adjustment process. The more the government intervenes to delay the market's adjustment, the longer and more grueling the depression will be, and the more difficult will be the road to complete recovery. Government hampering aggravates and perpetuates the depression, yet government depression policy has always, and would have even more today, aggravated the very evils it has loudly tried to cure. If, in fact, we list logically the various ways that government could hamper the market adjustment, we will find that we have precisely listed the favorite, quote, anti-depression, end quote, arsenal of government policy. Thus, here are the ways the adjustment process could be hobbled. 1. Prevent or delay liquidation. Lend money to shaky businesses. Call on banks to lend fervor, etc. 2. Inflate fervor. Fervor inflation blocks the necessary fall in prices, thus delaying adjustment and prolonging depression. Fervor credit expansion creates more malinvestments, which in their turn will have to be liquidated in some later depression. A government easy money policy prevents the market's return to necessary higher interest rates. 3. Keep wage rates up. Artificial maintenance of wage rates in a depression ensures permanent mass unemployment. Furthermore, in a deflation when prices are falling, we keep the same rate of money wages. Money wages means that real wage rates have been pushed higher in the face of falling business demand. This greatly aggravates the unemployment problem. 4. Keep prices up. Keeping prices above their free market levels will create unsalable surpluses and prevent a return to prosperity. 5. Stimulate consumption and discourage savings. We have seen that more saving and less consumption would speed recovery. More consumption and less saving aggravate the shortage of saved capital even further. Government can encourage consumption by food stamp plans and relief payments, and can discourage savings and investment by higher taxes, particularly on the wealthy and on corporations and estates. As a matter of fact, any increase of taxes in government spending will discourage saving and investment and stimulate consumption. Since government spending is all consumption, some of the private funds would have been saved and invested. All of the government funds are consumed. Any increase in the relative size of government in the economy therefore shifts the societal consumption-investment ratio in favor of consumption and prolongs the depression. 6. Subsidize unemployment. Any subsidization of unemployment via unemployment insurance and relief, etc., will prolong unemployment indefinitely and delay the shift of workers to the fields where jobs are available. These then are the measures which will delay the recovery process and aggravate the depression. Yet they are time-honored favorites of government policy, and we see as they were the policies adopted in the 1929-1933 Depression by a government known to many historians as a laissez-faire administration. Since deflation also speeds recovery, The government should encourage rather than interfere with a credit contraction in a gold standard economy, such as we had in 1929. Blocking deflation has further unfortunate consequences, for deflation increases the reserve ratios of the banking system and generates more confidence in citizen and foreigner alike that the gold standard will be retained. Fear of the gold standard will precipitate the very bank runs that the government is anxious to avoid. There are other values in deflation, even in bank runs, which should not be overlooked. Banks should no more be exempt from paying their obligations than any other business. Any interference with their comeuppance via bank runs will establish banks as a specially privileged group, not obligated to pay their debts, and will lead to later inflations, credit expansions, and depressions. And if, as we contended, banks are inherently bankrupt, and runs simply reveal that bankruptcy, it is beneficial for the economy for the banking system to be reformed once and for all by thorough purge of fractional reserve banking system. Such a purge would bring home forcibly to the public the dangers of fractional reserve banking, and more than any academic theorizing, ensure against such banking evils in the future. The most important canon of sound government policy in a depression, then, is to keep itself from interfering in the adjustment process. Can it do anything more positive to aid the adjustment? Some economists have advocated a government-decreed wage cut to spur employment, i.e. a 10% across-the-board reduction. But free market adjustment is the reserve of any, quote, across-the-board policy. Not all wages need to be cut. The degree of required adjustments of prices and wages differs from case to case, and can only be determined on the processes of the free and unhampered market. Government intervention can only distort the market further. There is one thing the government can do positively. However, it can drastically lower its relative role in the economy, slashing its own expenditures and taxes, particularly taxes that interfere with savings and investment. Reducing its tax spending level will automatically shift the societal saving investment consumption ratio in favor of saving and investment, thus greatly lowering the time required for returning to a prosperous economy. Reducing taxes that bear the most heavily on savings and investment will further lower social time preferences. Furthermore, depression is a time of economic strain. Any reduction of taxes or any regulations interfering with the free market will stimulate healthy economic activity. Any increase in taxes or other intervention will depress the economy further. In sum, the proper governmental policy in a depression is strict laissez-faire, including stringent budget slashing and coupled perhaps with positive encouragement of credit contraction. For decades, such a program has been labeled ignorant, reactionary, or Neanderthal by conventional economists. On the contrary, it is the policy clearly dictated by economic science to those who wish to end the depression as quickly and as cleanly as possible. It might be objected that the depression only began when credit expansion ceased. Why shouldn't the government continue credit expansion indefinitely in the first place? The longer the inflationary boom continues, the more painful and severe will be the necessary adjustment process. Second, the boom cannot continue indefinitely because eventually the public awakens to the governmental policy of permanent inflation and flees from money into goods, making its purchases while the dollar is worth more than it will be in the future. The result will be a, quote, runaway or hyperinflation so familiar to history, and particularly the modern world. Hyperinflation on any account is far worse than any depression. It destroys the currency, the lifeblood of the economy. It ruins and shatters the middle class and all, quote, fixed income groups, end quote, and wreaks havoc unbounded and furthermore. It leads finally to unemployment and lower living standards. Since there is little point in working when earned income depreciates by the hour, more time is spent hunting goods to supply. To avoid such a calamity, then, credit expansion must stop sometime, and this will bring a depression into being.